So I'm with the CEO of Awale Resources, Mr. Andrew Chubb. And Awale put out news Wednesday morning. The headline definitely caught some attention. 20 grams per ton gold over 29 meters at the Charger prospect at the Odienne Project. I'd like to dig into the results from Charger. It took me a while to wrap my head around this news, actually. For some reason, I didn't get it on the first read. You actually hit pretty good gold intercepts in 3 of the 5 holes that were, reported. So, what's your takeaway from this?
Look, I think it is. It is good. So we've hit the breccia target in those 3 holes, which are to the eastern side of the 83 hit, and so through that, for us, at that sort of relative level or elevation underground, we can now sort of at around 100 to 150 meters underground, we can connect across that sort of northeast trend, those intercepts from the previous drilling was, diamond hole 44, 45, 53. And now there was that new hole 84 that drilled into there from a different angle and got the 70 meters of mineralization. And then you come around and you've got 80, 88 and 85 moving towards the east, and then 83. So, that's 150, 200 meters that you can connect together across there. They're not all 1,500 gram meter hits, but there's 100 gram meter hits in there as well. And along with the 580 that we reported yesterday, plus the original 1,500 odd gram meter hit in 83. So I think that's all very positive, and so we've got something to target with further drilling, going deeper in our drill orientations, and we're also now looking at going back to the original geophysics that we did, and every hole that you drill, you learn a little bit more about the geology. So we can pretty much hang our hat on the breccia being a de-magnetized zone. So the alteration around the breccia has got magnetite, and so the rocks are quite magnetic. And then when you're within the breccia zone, it's de-magnetized, so there's a low mag response. And so, we're going back to the geophysics as potentially being able to use that as a targeting system of creating 3D magnetic models, which highlight low mag zones around the drilling that we've done. And the initial models that we've done, which are untrained models, show up a low mag zone, which matches up with the drilling that we've done. And so now we've taken magnetic susceptibility readings of all those holes that we've drilled, and we'll feed those back into the model. So you're kind of building more of a trained mag model based on the real magnetic susceptibility data from the drilling. So that sort of work is underway now, as well as a potential targeting tool as we go deeper. I view this as really, we were very happy with it, and the fact that the step back and the step east just intercepted peripheral alteration, similar to when we've been peripheral to the breccia. That's just how it is. These things, we think it follows a pre-existing structural framework, and then at the same time as the brecciation and the fluids coming in, the hydrothermal fluids, it's also probably creating a bit of its own structural network as well on top of a pre-existing framework that was there. So, I'm pretty happy with where we are as far as those first batch of holes that we drilled.
Mm-hmm. How is the theory that you had previously back in March still alive, that there could be this formation of the feeder pipes where they coalesce at depth? I mean, has that theory been tested properly yet?
No, we've drilled. So in that second round of drilling, we drilled a series of deeper holes, and one of those holes intercepted the target breccia. So, but we haven't sort of. I wouldn't say that's a feeder, but all the, I guess, all the mineralization and alteration that we're looking at, it certainly points toward what we would call magmatic, some magmatic fluids. Which means that which points towards intrusive related system. How deep that actually is still a question. We don't know how far down, if there is another hypothesis at depth. We don't know for sure how far down that might be. But the hole that we drilled, that we intercepted the breccia, we intercepted breccia from 340 meters down hole. So we're seeing the system at depth as well. And the other thing that's coming back into it from what we're looking at, I'm getting a little bit sort of detailed geological, Robert. So if you think I'm getting too detailed, please.
No, you can get as detailed as you want. I can handle it all.
Please let me know. But there is also what we're sort of looking at now is with more data is that we think potentially, like if you think about the breccia horizontally, there are zones within the breccia where the class size is much bigger, and there is less matrix within that, and it seems to be the matrix that has most of the better mineralization. So that matrix is being formed by the fluids that are getting pumped in and causing the brecciation, and so where you've got the bigger class sizes, there's less matrix, and the mineralization is probably going to be lower grade, and in the margins, the clasts in the breccia get smaller, and there's more matrix, and we're getting this higher grade mineralization. So the guys on site at the moment, we've got that in mind, and they're actually digging back into all those drill holes and sort of doing a relogging exercise on all the breccia zones that we've intercepted, and trying to understand that part of the breccia as well. So we're just learning now that there are different matrix within the breccia. So hole 88 was very much silica or quartz dominant, and still quite high, still nice high grade mineralization, whereas hole 83 was the matrix is more of a high iron chlorite and cyanopyroxene with lesser amounts of quartz. So before, we thought if there was a lot more quartz, potentially the mineralization wasn't as good, but this hole 88 has shown us something completely different. So with these things, you're just learning all the time, and the big thing is to keep chasing that breccia body, which we know that contains the mineralization, and we've now hit the breccia body, at depth underneath the sort of 80. It's where it is roughly underneath that sort of hole 44, hole 45, which you go back to our earlier releases where I sort of had drawn in two pipes. That we're underneath there, and we've hit the breccia, 150 odd meters below there vertically. So, it's got room there is room for growth, volume. And with more drilling, you hopefully get more grade as well. It increases your chances. I mean, when you're drilling holes, you're drilling an NQ core is about 5 centimeters in diameter. I think they're 54 millimeters. So you're drilling a really small piece of rock in a big breccia system. So the sample size is small in there too. So There are all those factors that come into play when you're exploring and doing these sort of things. So,
Mhm.
but yeah,
This
that's the way I would look at it.
Yeah. Okay. So the section map that you included in the news shows the gold zone staying about the same width at depth. As it extends to depth. Is that based upon the subsequent holes
Yeah, well,
that you tagged into?
yeah, so you're looking at a window there, and the idea is that we think at that sort of level we can join all those. We can start to join the breccia together along a structural control. So it's just a window of that. So it's more like yeah, uh, we're thinking of it more like maybe it's more like an elongate panel that keeps going down to depth. And where you're coming up into the higher zones or the shallower zones that we've drilled earlier, you're getting more fingers. You're seeing more like fingers. So you drill a hole and you get the breccia, and then you come across, and then you don't, because they're sort of more fingers coming up. So as we get deeper, we feel like we can join those breccia zones together. And
Mm-hmm.
if that breccia is fatter, like in the middle of it, maybe you get those bigger clasts, and the mineralization isn't quite as strong in those sort of core zones. But then when you get out to the margins where there's higher fluid flow and more intense brecciation with those smaller class sizes, then you're getting the high grade mineralization. So it just takes more drilling to keep doing these things. Sort of, I think we should be all pretty aware that you've got to keep putting holes into these things to keep developing the size.
Yeah, absolutely. So the magnetics, is that going to be an important tool to help guide you to continue to expand at Charger and to
Well,
expand at depth and to find more fingers?
Well, that's that. Well, it's really to chase that panel now.
Hmm.
And so we think the fingers are probably more at shallower levels, and it becomes more like a panel. And so hopefully we can train that mag data to help. I mean, but the mag data, I mean, it doesn't look to kilometers down. We're talking hundreds of meters down, but we'll see, in the ensuing weeks, we'll see what that looks like, and whether that becomes a valid targeting tool. We will see for sure. But the initial sort of idea, it appears to look compelling, but we need to do the work to see if it truly is compelling and a targeting tool that will help us. And now that we've got more data, we'll also start to do more geochemistry and seeing if different if we're actually seeing at like an internal metal zonation that might help us vector as well. So we're looking at all these things during the wet season whilst it's difficult to drill, and when we come back in again, we'll have put together all those things together in a model for a new drill plan.
Okay. So you have 2 to 3 months off during the wet season, before you get back out there again with the drill rig. So during that time, you'll have quite a bit of news because you guys drilled more than 20 holes during this last phase. Can you tell us about sort of the sequence that you expect the news to flow with
Yep.
with the results?
Yeah, that's right. So we batch submitted. So the 5 holes that we just reported were the first batch that we sent off to the lab. And then, so, subsequent to that and some more drilling, we sent off a batch of BBM, the first batch of BBM, which was the first sort of 50 to 60% of the holes that we drilled at BBM. So we expect them to start coming in over the ensuing weeks. And once we have enough together to tell a story, we don't sort of report hole by hole. So toward the end of this month, we should have that first batch of holes from BBM ready to report. And then so that's the end of August, and then the same thing again. So toward the end of September, we should have the rest of the BBM holes. And then at some stage in September, we should have those last 4 holes that we drilled at Charger. So those last 4 holes that we drilled at Charger, they were submitted last week. So mid last week, so about 8 or 9 days, or 8 days ago now, the truck came and collected, those last holes that were drilled at Charger. So,
Okay.
roughly a 1 month cadence, let's say, roughly a 1 month cadence for that drilling.
Okay, so 10 holes at BBM were drilled, and you'll report them in 2 batches, with the first batch most likely at the end of August, and then the subsequent batch following a few weeks later. So tell us about the BBM drilling. This is the target area that I'm most excited about. I think it has a lot of scale potential. What are you seeing there?
Yeah. So look, I was I was down on site just as we were closing off that last hole at Charger. So I've seen all the holes from BBM. Those holes at BBM were, I call it framework drilling or wingspan drilling. So we drilled some deeper holes down plunge. And down dip, down plunge, and then we sort of drilled extension holes out from that initial core. So we delineated an initial sort of 500-meter core in that last round of drilling, and so I think it looks like we've extended that 500-meter core towards the west northwest or northwest and southeast. And the deeper holes that we've drilled down plunge, we've seen wider zones of the right alteration that look similar to the holes that we reported in March. Look, we're really looking forward to seeing those results come through over the ensuing weeks.
And can you remind me again, so the full strike extent at BBM is about 8,000 meters, but how much of it has been tested so far with the drill?
We've been focused on so this drill program focused on that central 1.3 kilometer zone. And so what we've got penciled in for the second half of the year is, along that sort of 8 kilometers of strike, we've got an air core program planned to test what I would call, satellite targets along that 8 kilometers of strike.
Okay. So how many holes have been put in that 1,000 or 1,300, meter area so far?
Yep. So we've now drilled I think 28 or 30 holes. So it's 28 holes, and in this program we did 2 tails. So we re-entered 2 of the holes from the last program and extended them into the footwall, where we were seeing some footwall mineralization from that last program. So we extended a couple of holes into the footwall as well. So that makes that is in all told 28 holes.
Okay. If anybody has a question they'd like to ask to Andrew, please ask to speak, and I'll call on you. So you guys are going to test some of these step out targets along that full strike extent at BBM with the air core drill over the next, I guess, 6 months or so. What does it take to get the target ready for the core rig?
Well, you would be wanting to see mineralization in those air core holes, and then you would and subsequent to seeing that, you would potentially look at drilling some diamond straight away underneath, just to get some fresh rock. So the air core is only drilling; it won't drill in the fresh rock. So you would be looking to drill under that with some diamond and have a look at what the geology looks like underneath. So yeah, that's in a nutshell where that would be. Yeah.
What kind of grade would you need to see, with the air core to say, okay, we've got to get the core rig over here to get into the fresh rock?
For us, it's I would be hoping to get some significant widths at greater than 0.2, with some nicer sort of 1, 2, 3, plus 1 gram hits within that.
Okay.
And what you're looking for is those mineralized trends with the air core. So we're just trying to pick up on trends, so that's the idea with the air core is you can see zones of higher grade within the geochemistry, and that's where the air core will be focused in on sort of 400 to between 200 and 600 meter spaced lines, and you're just trying to tie up between those lines some trends at above 0.2 grams over some decent widths. And decent widths might be 5, 10, 20 meters, something like that. If we're lucky, even wider. But it all depends on how deep you can end up drilling those air core holes, because once you hit the fresh rock, the rig won't keep going. You need to move on to the next hole on that line.
Okay. Vukasin, go ahead and speak if you would like to.
Hi guys, I hope the sound is fine. While we are on BBM, I just have a quick question regarding geophysics, because we touched on the mag likely working on charger and finally having some kind of a tangible model and a thesis on that. But is there anything on BBM and along that 8 kilometer trend that goes to Lando?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's something that I meant, that I was actually thinking about when I was talking about the air core, and then kept talking about air core, is the orientation survey that we did, an orientation IP survey. So we did a gradient array grid, about a 1.5 kilometer long gradient array grid, and 2 what we call pole dipole sections across it. And that was quite the correlation between the grade in the drilling and the IP was very good. So I would, I'm in this, I would like to be able to extend that IP survey over the same zones that we've got planned up for the air core as well, because I think that will really help us with A, targeting the air core holes, and B, targeting deeper holes if those air core are picking up on some nice mineralization.
Okay.
But yeah, IP is a good targeting tool for the work. The orientation is saying that IP should be a good targeting tool for BBM.
Cool. Okay. And so if I understood you correctly earlier, the work on the JV restarts in September, right? That's roughly when the wet season should be done.
Yeah. So it's always, you never know how long the wet season's going to last, but historically, particularly with truck-mounted rigs, it's late September. So air core and RC truck-mounted rigs, and so typically, you need the rain to really be quite ended before you do that. Otherwise, you run into trouble of getting stuck and things like that. So September, October, we should be good to go. September.
And what's the closest priority once you start on the JV again? Where do you kick off the work and the drilling?
Yeah, so at the moment, we've got the air core rig lined up plus RC. So that's the idea, and then the air core is for BBM, and then RC for a little bit of initial infill drilling at BBM, and then but most of the RC is actually planned for Lando, which I've always talked about Lando. We love Lando as a target. It's a huge geochem anomaly, 4 kilometers long, open, and one, over 1 kilometer wide in some zones. And the initial drilling that we did at Lando was targeted on, I guess, the higher grade gold sort of goes off into trouser legs. So there's 2 zones. We focused on one zone, which is more to the west. When we re-looked at everything, the zone on the eastern side, it looks like there could be an intrusive sort of a structure with an intrusion along it, which is somewhat similar to what we see at BBM. So the RC is actually planned as long system lines going all the way across those anomalies, just to try and correlate that geochem anomalies that we have with the subsurface geology that we can't see.
The question at Lando right now is, I mean, quote unquote, just where the better grades are, right?
Yeah, that's right. I feel like we feel like that we just haven't been quite in the right spot in the first few holes that we've drilled at Lando. So the host geology has been just pretty much dominated by volcanic basalt rocks. So there's sort of no contrasting geology, which is often really nice to see mineralization, and that's why that what looks like might be an intrusive kind of zone in the magnetics, in the aerial magnetics, that's what we want to get across, and where those volcanics might be in contact with some intrusive rocks with a structural control on that.
Does it warrant to be more positive on the system itself if basalt itself hosts mineralization that is, I would call it above cutoff, above eventual cutoff for this kind of
chemically basalts and more mafic to ultramafic rocks can also act as nice fluid traps as well. So when you've got that rheology contrast with those higher iron rocks like basalts, it's quite often quite a good target.
Right. Okay. And do you expect to have, from when you do RC or even air core, do you expect to have assays much quicker than diamond rigs, from the diamond rig?
What I would what we can potentially, yes, if we look at just using fire assay results and XRF, it would be a lot quicker. So the thing that takes longer is that we've been doing ICP analysis, which means that there's no ICP lab that we would want to use in West Africa. There's plenty of fire assay labs, and so when those samples get shipped offshore to be analysed with ICP, it takes much longer. And the other thing that as a company, Awale has just bought a PXRF system that will analyse for gold. There's a particular digest that we do use that comes with that you can analyse for gold and silver with the PXRF. Silver is definitely a pathfinder element for us as well. If I can convince Newmont that it's a good idea to be using that system that Awale has bought so I bought that system, it's being shipped now. I bought that system with regional targets or the regional work in mind to try and bring along the regional work that we're going to start doing a lot more rapidly. But we'll see if Newmont is keen on using that as a targeting tool as well with air core drilling and early stage RC drilling. It's possible.
Do you think there's any reason to say no on that?
I mean, it's not an accredited lab result.
Okay.
But you know what I mean? Like, so it's not an accredited lab result. So that's the key reason behind something like that, which is something that has to be discussed, we think.
Yeah. Okay. And okay, we touched on the outside of the JV a bit, but still on the JV you have Scepter, which is kind of the biggest thing that's like sitting in the middle of the project. Are there any plans for after the wet season to go back there and poke something?
Yeah. So look, I would really like to, but these things all come down to budget.
Right.
And whether I can fit that in to the budget that we have. And at the moment, it's not fitting into that budget. But there is later in the year opportunity for budget extensions, which that's at Newmont's discretion, not mine. But I think with good results from BBM alongside these initial good results from Charger, that there is potential for a budget extension from Newmont for the second half of the year.
Right. So in terms, just to hammer the point home on the JV, in terms of the clear upside that's kind of new, the next thing that's supposed to be figured out is Lando, but by the sound of what you're saying, the next work is.
Yeah, look, as a newer target that we think is ripe for another discovery on what we think, it all just fits in with this district scale alteration and mineralization that we keep talking about for Odienne, and Lando is something that we think is still ripe for a new discovery to add into the picture.
Okay, and so when we step outside of the JV, can we first touch on the licenses, and was that already supposed to be granted, and when do you expect the government to come in with both the JV license to the west, which is called Odienne West, and the rest of the stuff?
Yeah, so I can't vouch for what the government is their process. All I can say is that we have everything in place. Our country manager is in conversation with the direction, the DGMG, on a consistent basis. Pretty much almost an everyday basis. And so we're doing everything we can to make sure that we're at the forefront or at the top of their files, if you like. Mm-hmm. And so get them to expedite those things as quickly as possible.
And have you done any field surface work on the 100% owned claims so far? I believe the Eastern permit is already granted, right? That's the one.
Yeah, so that's right. So on that, we have been doing work on that Eastern permit, and so we've been sampling, surface sampling, soils and termite area sampling, which is now a tried and true method for us. We have been doing that on that permit on the eastern side, which is an Awale permit. Some initial sort of PXRF results are showing anomalous copper and moly, and we've got samples in the fire assay lab at the moment. So it'd be nice if we could if we get some positive results back from some positive gold results from that. We'll be looking to, alongside the drill results that we're putting out over the next couple of months, to put out some early stage geochem results from that permit to the eastern side.
How close is that to BBM?
Oh, it's. I mean, I think from the BBM discovery to the permit boundaries, somewhere between 1.5 and 2 kilometres.
And the anomalism.
The anomalies are straight after the permit boundaries that we've seen. So
Okay.
it's just a case of getting the gold back and putting it together and seeing what the strike length of those anomalies ends up being.
Right, and in terms of the tenor and the numbers, are can you say anything on that end with copper and moly?
They're they're over 100 ppm copper, and they're significant. They're not insignificant anomalies.
Right, right.
Guys, just a second, of Acosta, because you're so well versed in the story. I just caught that. So you're saying that just on the other side of the property boundary at BBM, Awale has its 100% owned ground, and
Correct,
there's
yes.
an anomaly, a large anomaly right across the property boundary.
Well, we don't know how big that anomaly is yet,
Okay.
Robert. Where the samples are in the lab to see what the gold anomalism is there.
Okay. All right. And when you
Yeah.
get that back?
Look, hopefully in the ensuing weeks. So, I'm sort of hopeful that we might be able to put out, as long as those results are there and there is the gold there, we'd be able to put out some interesting geochem announcement, sometime this month as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so Robert, pertinent to your question, I just wanted to quickly touch on the anomalism itself. So I pulled up out of my folder the old graphics from BBM, and so the core is basically 100 plus ppm copper, which is roughly what Andrew is referring to. And the initial graphics, from Awale didn't have gold specified. So yeah, once that is in, we should, I think, get the news release.
Yeah. We just want to see the gold. We don't want to be reporting sort of half the story. We want to be reporting the whole story.
I guess final question, Andrew. This has been a great conversation. Were you surprised at all to see the stock price action on Wednesday on the back of those results from Charger?
Yeah, of course. Of course. I mean, I can't. I mean, you can't. I've said this before. You just can't predict the way people are going to read or what the market's going to do. I was, extremely surprised. We all were, and I can't say any more than that because I don't know why. I have absolutely no idea why, and I guess that's why I'm here talking to you today, and I'll do a few more interviews with a few other people and just try and get what I think is the right side of the story out. If it is like the wrong side of the story that people are selling on, I'm not really sure of what it is, but the way I look at it is, I personally, have a long-term view on the country, the country, of course, but the company and the projects, and as a company, we'll just keep doing what we do. I mean, we've been extremely successful over the last couple of years. I think, it's a lot of hard work that goes into getting where we are, and we'll just keep doing more of the same. We're not going to change about how we go about our business from an exploration perspective because it works. And I feel like I can put my hand on my heart and say what we've been doing works, and we've made some pretty spectacular discoveries, and I think if we keep doing things the same way, we'll make more. And as a saying that as a geology team, where the whole idea is that we're open as a geology team to new ideas, new models. We take the data that we see and interpret it as it is. I mean, we have a greater model for the district, that sort of iron oxide copper gold kind of system or hybrid system, because we think there is orogenic things going on as well. But we're open to new ideas and what that data tells us, and being able to have that ability as a technical team to look at things from that target scale, and then taking that back out to the regional scale, and how does that all fit in, and all those sorts of things. They're the sorts of things that create exploration success, and we'll just keep doing that. Like we're not going to stop doing what we're doing. And I've been working on boosting that technical side of things with the right people. So I've been talking to some really good people that I think will be coming on board during the month of August as well. So just building on that excellent technical knowledge that we already have.
Yeah, I think that's well said, Andrew. I mean, the trend of the results really does speak for itself. I mean, the last 3 sets of results that you've announced, the headlines were 2.4 grams per ton over 75 meters, then 45.7 grams per ton gold over 32 meters, and then yesterday 20 grams per ton gold over 29 meters. Not many junior mining companies can say that those are the headlines of their last 3 news releases.
No, that's right.
So yeah, the trend is good. Keep going. You're doing good work. I appreciate it. Thanks everybody for tuning in today. I'll get this uploaded to my YouTube channel over the extended weekend for most people.
Can I ask
you got
one
something
more
to say?
quick question?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when/if you got the Odienne West permit granted, that this is the western part of the JV, for those who don't know, which has been untouched so far. Do you expect to do surface work immediately on that?
We would get in as quickly as we can.
Okay.
So we've already got target areas that we want to go into, and we would get in onto that as quickly as we can. Yep.
Right. Okay. Sorry.
All right. Cheers, everybody. Thanks, Andrew. Thanks, Vuka. Thank you, guys. Cheers.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks very much, Robert.